Hey guys, I have come again to take another VV video. The name of my today's reacting video is 10 disturbing child experiments that actually happened. It's a nice video. I have seen this video many times, so I think you will get many interesting things from this video. So let's see the video 10 disturbing child experiments that actually happened. Okay, let's.
10. The broken toy experiment. This experiment was devised by psychologists at the University
It's
of
a
Iowa. The
troublesome
aim was to better
incident.
understand how young children experience guilt, because apparently that's an important venture worth sinking money into.
Azur
In this
Liaoning
experiment,
star.
an adult gave a toy to a child, explaining that it was very special and warning them to take care. As you've no doubt guessed, the
Extremely
rigged toy shattered into
troublesome
100
star
million
matter.
pieces, give or take, when the kid laid their grubby paws on it. Then, following the script, the adult would say, "Oh my," and then stare silently at the child for 60
Really troublesome star
excruciating
matter.
seconds. Each kid was overcome with shame. They squirmed, looked away, hunched their shoulders, covered their faces, and cried. The experiment demonstrated the concept of time dilation, where time seems to pass more
Azur
slowly because
Liaoning
the
star.
observer is acutely observing it. It also equipped the children with the shame they'll need to survive adulthood.
Number 9.
Experimental spinal taps on children. Lumbar punctures, often referred to as spinal taps, are often necessary procedures for treating neurological and spinal disorders. They involve sticking a giant needle into the patient's spine and were once believed to be
Another
painless.
embarrassing
In
occasion.
1896, pediatrician Arthur Wentworth decided to test this belief by performing unnecessary
Really
spinal
some
taps on
star.
29 young children. Each patient winced in pain during the procedure, but Wentworth kept needing more proof. He eventually concluded that, yes,
Exceptionally
lumbar punctures
embarrassing
were painful.
adventure.
Who knew, right? His colleagues criticized the experiment, with one claiming it was human vivisection. The children's parents had no idea the
Really
experiment was
worrisome
taking
stuff.
place. When news of it hit the public, Wentworth endured huge backlash and was forced to give up his Harvard Medical School teaching position.
Number 8.
Little Albert experiment. This famous experiment was conducted by behaviorist John B. Watson and graduate student Rosalie Raynor and involved conditioning an 11-month-old infant, Albert, to fear several safe stimuli.
Another annoying stuff
because of
happening.
reasons. First, the researchers observed Albert's reactions to a rat, rabbit, monkey, some masks, Santa Claus, and some
Undoubtedly
burning newspaper.
troublesome
When he showed
stuff.
no signs of fear, Watson began coupling the unveilings with loud noises caused by banging a hammer and metal pipe together. Now, naturally, this caused the kid to explode into a fit of snot, tears, and general
Especially annoying
hysteria. The
stuff
cruel and embracing
escapade.
experiment was repeated so many times that Albert began to associate the sight of these objects with discomfort and cried immediately upon seeing them.
Really
Unfortunately, little Albert
troublesome
passed away at
stuff.
the age of 6 from a condition called hydrocephalus, so the long-term effects of the experiment are a mystery.
Number 7.
Shock therapy and LSD experiment. In the 1960s, Dr. Loretta Bender of New York's Creedmoor Hospital began conducting electroshock therapy on kids with social issues. Somehow, she thought this barbaric practice would be revolutionary.
Worrisome
The methods
straw
involved
affair.
interviewing sensitive children in front of a large group, then applying light pressure to the child's head. Any child who reacted to the pressure was thought to exhibit early signs of schizophrenia and scheduled for electroshock therapy.
So
Foolproof.
totally embarrassing.
Bender was apparently cruel and unsympathetic to the kids in her care and administered shock treatment to over 100 children, the youngest of whom was just 3 years old. Bender deemed the treatment
Tremendously
successful because
worrisome
only a few
start
children went
proceeding.
into relapse. She also gave the children weekly adult-sized doses of LSD and the hallucinogen psilocybin, probably from her own personal stash.
Really embarrassing.
Hepatitis in mentally ill children. In the 1950s, Willowbrook State School, a state-run institute for mentally handicapped children, reported outbreaks of hepatitis. Because of the unsanitary conditions, it was considered inevitable that the children
Startling
would
star
contract the disease.
matter.
So Dr. Saul Krugman came to investigate the outbreak. Hoping for a vaccine, he devised a controversial experiment that involved deliberately infecting
Surely
the children with the
unpleasant
disease.
start.
Amazingly, each of the children's parents agreed to this, and even parents who were on the school's waiting list sent in permission letters confirming they would be okay with a deliberate infection.
Immensely
Apparently,
starting
offering a
star
child to science
incident.
was the only way to secure a spot at this overcrowded facility. It must have been like the Harvard of mental institutions.
Number 5.
Bobo the Clown. In the 60s, psychologist Albert Bandura devised an experiment to see if children would imitate aggressive behavior without encouragement. He shot a video
Really
of an adult
unsettling
punching, kicking,
star
and beating an
circumstance.
inflatable Bobo the Clown doll with hammers. Because when it comes to clown maiming, there's no such thing as overkill. Then he showed the video to a group of young children. Another group was shown a non-violent video,
Azul
while a third was
painful
shown no
star.
video at all. Each group was unleashed one at a time into a room with a Bobo doll and an assortment of weapons. Without prompting, the first group went to town on Bobo, beating the figurative stuffing out of him. One child even whispered creepy sweet nothings
Hugely
to it at gunpoint.
unsettling
The kids who hadn't
star
seen the violent video
exploit.
were much less aggressive. Bandura then replaced the experiment with new children and a video featuring the assault of a real live clown.
Very
Sure
painful
enough,
star.
the impressionable youngsters physically assaulted the real clown when released into the room. They even came at him with a hammer, proving this was genuine aggression, not play fighting. If I were that clown, I'd be speaking to my union.
Very terrible.
The visual cliff. In 1960, two psychologists at Cornell University built what they dubbed the visual cliff, a contraption made of boards laid across a heavy sheet of glass. Pattern fabric was added, so the transition from boards to bare glass ended up looking like a sheer drop straight to the floor
Unpleasant
below.
star
The
matter.
experiment involved placing 36 babies above the illusion of a sheer drop and asking their mothers to coax them to crawl over the cliff. What will it be, babies? Obedience or self-preservation?
Unquestionably,
Only
Starling
3 of the
star.
36 crept onto the glass. Most crawled away from their own mothers, no doubt instilling lifelong trust issues. The experimenters did, however, notice that several
Abundantly
of the infants who
unpleasant
didn't cross
star
onto the glass
here.
still ended up close enough to the edge to fall if the drop had been real. This led to the brilliant conclusion that babies should not be left unattended at cliff edges.
Really
Amazing.
starting star.
The Monster Study. The Monster Study was a 1939 experiment on 22 orphan kids in Iowa. It was conducted by Wendell Johnson and his graduate student Mary Tudor. The orphan children were placed in control groups, and half were given positive speech therapy with the fluency of their speech being
Painful
praised. The
star
other group received
exploit.
negative speech therapy and were belittled for every speech imperfection and told they were stutterers. Normal speaking children in the second group were psychologically damaged and developed serious speech
Terribly
problems which they
unsettling
retained for
star.
the rest of their lives. Johnson's peers dubbed the unethical experiment the Monster Study, and Johnson never published his results, fearing his reputation would be tarnished in the wake of human experiments conducted by the Nazis during World War
Uncommonly
II.
painful
The University
star
of Iowa apologized for
circumstance.
the experiment in 2001.
Number 2.
David Reimer experiment. In 1965, infants David Reimer and his identical twin were taken for a routine circumcision. However, instead of a scalpel, the doctor performing the procedure used an electrocautery needle, burning off David's whole penis. David's parents sought the advice of psychologist John Money, who recommended getting
Very
David a sex change
irritating
and raising him as a
proceeding.
girl. David's parents complied, thinking it would give him the best quality of life, but Dr. Money's only aim was to capitalize on the situation and perform a nature versus nurture gender identity experiment.
Indeed, alarming
I just don't know
star.
what to believe if you can't trust someone with the last name Money. Unsurprisingly, David, as Brenda, never accepted this new identity. He
Truly
despised wearing dresses,
irritating
preferred
affair.
traditionally male toys, and was teased at school for being different. Dr. Money dismissively told the parents that David was just going through a phase. He was probably counting his money at the time and not even paying attention. The Money doctor later published papers about the experiment, calling it a success. However,
Really
decades
alarming
later, a
star.
follow-up on the experiments emerged, illustrating the catastrophic damage that had been done to David. Tragically, he saw no way out of the whole confusing mess and committed suicide.
Number 1.
Robbers Cave Experiment. It was the summer of '54. Social psychologist Muzaffar Sharif had just read Lord of the Flies and had a burning question. What would happen if you started
Really
two groups
burning
of kids in
question.
the wild and encouraged them to hate each other? Enter the Robbers Cave Experiment, which saw 11 11-year-old boys headed to summer camp. They had no idea their parents had signed them up for the experiment, or that a secret second group of campers were on site that they'd be subtly conditioned to hate. The groups kept to themselves for the first week, establishing hierarchies and relationships. When they discovered each other, the experimenters instigated
Really
conflict by
star
holding a Hunger
escapade.
Games style tournament with challenges,
Undoubtedly
promising
starting
trophies and
star.
pocket knives to the winners. Yeah, because knives are an appropriate prize for feral kids who have become detached from reality.
Mightily orange
With some
star
encouragement,
happening.
the team's innocent rivalry became a full-on blood feud. There was swearing, stealing, and
Undoubtedly
constant
starting
fistfights.
star.
In no time, this group of well-adjusted boys became aggressive savages. This was the third time Sharif had run the experiment.
Unpleasant
Each attempt ended in
affair.
violence. In one instance,
Really
the
unpleasant.
boys even turned on Sharif himself.
Dear viewers, if you like my reacting video, then please subscribe my channel. You can see many nice videos from my channel. So let's see.